and welcome to our show. Very excited to have you on the show. Very excited about your company. You guys are doing some really exciting things, Wayne, and I'm really impressed. Can you please tell us a little bit about Tracesafe for our audience? Because this is the first time we've really ever talked about your company on our show, and how long you've been with the company.
Sure. So we got involved with Tracesafe at the early part of 2020. The company's been around since 2013. They were a medical devices company, effectively, and they were doing infant tracking in maternity wards for hospitals. They deployed to a couple hospitals, and when COVID hit, there was seen as a need to adapt the technology. Their major customer was the government of Hong Kong, and they said they're going to be doing inbound quarantine, adapt the technology. So while it wasn't originally designed for this sort of contact tracing or quarantine management, self-isolation, that was what it was adapted for. And they have a very exciting product roadmap ahead that's more in tune with wearables, future of work, and all this kind of data-driven stuff that we're going to be seeing much more of. COVID is obviously a huge accelerant of that trend, wearables in the workplace, I think. And in the meantime, these guys have had some incredible success. Our company, sales team, the product team, making this available, deploying it to governments that need it, corporations, that are out there that have a real need for a contact tracing solution that works and has that medical provenance to it, and not something that's sort of slapped together just for COVID. So that's a little bit about the company. Here we are now attacking the cruise ship industry, which is exciting.
That was huge news today, and we'll get into that. But before I ask you a little bit about that news, and I went through it before, and that's just huge.
Yeah.
Does Tracesafe have any competitors right now? And if so, who are they?
We do see competitors, and it depends where we're operating. So, for example, we did a significant amount of business with these governments. So we're in the Caymans, we're in Singapore, we're in Hong Kong, working with all those governments at either a ministerial level or otherwise. And in those cases, we tend to see the bigger players like Hitachi has a platform that's focused on this workplace health and safety. But in most cases, we've been the winner in those bidding in those competitive situations. So there we see some of those bigger competitors. In smaller deployments, you tend to see a different mix, and that might be a more focused solution, or an entrepreneur that's building based off buying some hardware off Alibaba and trying to sort of stitch it together with some stuff. That we see that from time to time as well. But it's really hard to make a good product that's low weight. This is something that people have to use all the time. So, it has to be light. The battery has to be super efficient. The platform has to be really bulletproof. You're dealing with privacy, encryption, all these things. These aren't easy to do off the shelf. And we've seen a lot of these companies sort of try to quickly adapt their technology or quickly try to build products in this category with very, very mixed results. You do need a kind of a platform or a base to build off of. And this company's been around, since 2013, building these types of products, working through the types of issues that, are just part of the learning process.
I love what you guys are doing. My sister lives in the Cayman Islands, and it's one of the only places in the world where they have no COVID.
Yeah.
They have no COVID. Nobody wears masks. My nephew goes and plays hockey. There is no COVID. And people that are living outside of the Cayman Islands can't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I realized that you guys were there, I was like, wow, that's the product that my sister's talking about. Because my sister's like, you have to put on these bands that, go around and tell everyone where you've been. And I was just like, wait a second. And then now we are talking, and I'm like, that's your company. And I was just like, that is wild what you guys are doing. I think
it's important because tourism is so important to Cayman that
yes,
they can't shut their borders. There's a lot of people that reside in Cayman tend to be also somewhere else in the world, whether that's in the UK or elsewhere. And so repatriating people and bringing them back home is, they want to do it in a safe way. I'll say that the Cayman government has been incredible as far as being proactive and providing a solution that kind of makes sense within their own to their own citizens and kind of delivering something that that's working, and they're getting good results, and I think people are happy with it. They've been a great partner for us. We've been super happy to work with them, and hopefully they stay COVID free. And it's interesting that you bring up the Cayman, because we're working in other areas. There's other areas in the world that kind of give you a glimpse of what the future will be like. And one of those is Singapore. Singapore is almost like having a crystal ball, because they got COVID before us. They've been super proactive with it. And now they're they're in a very like zero case environment. And so when you talk to people there, it's like, being 6 months in the future, and they are really talking now about wearables in the workplace as the center of a connected worker story. That's a narrative that's really emerging. And because Tracesafe has been so active in that region, and because we have such an advanced platform, we're being talked about as that center of a connected worker story in Singapore. And it's really starting at the construction, in areas where you have concerns like safety, safety equipment being used. That's where the story is starting. And it's super exciting to be a part of that connected worker story. That's the real story in the long term, is that these devices get rolled out to corporations for use in a health setting, but you have to have the services and things that make that device stick inside the environment long term. And we're developing all those services and products every day.
Now, one of the other things that I'm really impressed with is your revenue growth. And a lot of people don't know about that. So let's talk a little bit about that. How soon can we see and can we expect revenues to impact your financial results?
So we've grown since we, started the Tracesafe operations for the beginning of the year. We've grown our revenues 100% quarter over quarter, which is a big, it's really, really impressive. It's testament to our sales team and our product team being able to deliver the products to those customers. So we, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, our sales are already impacting our financial results. We're growing those consistently. I don't know. I mean, 2020 will be a massive growth year 2021 will be a massive growth year for us. But it'll be sort of growth at scale. I don't know that we will, we're not dealing with the same types of dynamics that we were dealing with in 2020. Now we're dealing with more long-term customers that are coming into the pipeline that want to get billing. They want to be set up for multi-year contracts. It's not just a rush to just land products. And what that means is that our story is now much more a software story. So it means that, we're not just racing to deliver product. I think there's still the same urgency. We're seeing things, just different at different stages throughout the world. There's still very much an urgency, but it's not just land the hardware, deal with it later. This is more thought through contracts where we're really focusing on the software services that we can deliver for the clients.
That's great. Now let's talk about the news that you guys announced today. The stock is up and it's doing quite well today. A lot of our communities positioning themselves and started positioning themselves yesterday. So congratulations to members. And I really believe this story is just getting started. In my opinion, this is going to go well over $1 in 2021, just based on the revenue growth, $1 million a month and 100% growth quarter over quarter. is pretty spectacular. I don't know if I can think of another company growing like that right now. So can you speak a little bit on the news today? This huge deal in the cruise ship industry, which also affects the Cayman, because if you've been to the Cayman, like I have many times, you can see that they have cruises that come in and they just dock there. So I don't know if that's happening still, but if they still want it, probably not, right? So if they still want to have that huge revenue roll into the Cayman, this could potentially make a huge difference for the cruise lines so they can get back to the Cayman, right? Like this is probably part of your vision as to why you're putting together these deals. Can you speak a little bit on that news?
Yeah, no, that's a great setup. So the cruise ship industry's got to get back on the water, and they've had, CDC frameworks that they've been working with, and, trying to make sure that they give their guests the safest experience possible. Triton Software is the company that for 95% of the cruise ships, they run the medical. It's a bit of, people probably don't think about this stuff on the surface, but every cruise ship has a medical records department, because people that go on cruises, you may have diabetes or you may have high blood pressure. You have to, and you're going to be away from civilization for a little bit. You need to make sure that you have those medications. They understand what medications you're taking. So there's an entire kind of medical records component. There's one company that does it, and they're Triton. And so Triton was approached by virtually every company in this category, right? The wearables category. And we've ended up creating, at the end of that, they've gone through all these different products and looked at all the different competitors. And at the end, we are still in the running, and very much, thankful to Triton for being such an incredible partner. We consider every day with Triton as day one. We're always, working to improve the product and make sure that our product works with their integrations and everything's going smoothly. So basically what this means is that we are aligned with the company that, does all the medical records in the cruise business, and all the health and really all the health data associated with those operations, which is a critical component to running a cruise ship, is that health record component. So we're plugging into them, and we're integrating at that point, and this is just a massively strategic point of integration, because it makes it a no-brainer for the cruise lines to take up our solution, because we have such a tight integration at the point that makes sense. So we are extremely excited about this announcement. We've been working so hard on this in the background for months, and continue to work really, really hard to roll this out. Our product is on board multiple cruise ship companies right now testing, and we're talking to a lot of these companies, really sort of the longer, towards the end of the cycle, where we're talking about, really integrating into their customer experience and their user experience. And that's where we want to go further, is that we see wearables as potentially an enabling technology for them to improve the guest experience, and to be really a part of how that works from a convenience and standpoint. So your contact tracing device that you have on the cruise, that can start being your room key. It can start being your payment system. It can start being a lot of things, because there's no need for people to be carrying a whole bunch of things. So this is what I talk about when wearables. Not everybody wants to have an app on their phone that does everything and knows your family photos and it's just, there's too much personal stuff there. So it might be too much of an ask for an app to go on for everything. And so in a lot of instances, hospitality, enterprise, where you might not necessarily want to download a fresh app to unlock some of these features, a wearable works perfectly. You can build a lot of those experiences into the wearable. A great example is Disney's Magic Band. They have a wearable when you're at the park, and that wearable just integrates seamlessly into so many of the services and things that they offer, from food and beverage to lineups and everything else. and it becomes a major revenue driver for them. So that's the type of experience we see in the future, is that the wearable becomes the center of the experience in a hospitality setting. The wearable can become the center of this health and safety, employee wellness, well-being, productivity in an enterprise setting. So this is really a massive story, and kind of catalyzed by the pandemic.
Now, there's a few different products you guys are putting together. Which would you say is the product that's going to drive the most sales for Tracesafe? And how quickly do you plan to get them to market if you're already not at market?
Yeah, so we're at market with both of our products, which is, one is the quarantine management, and the other one is the contact tracing. So in a situation like, go back to the World Juniors use both of them. It's an international hockey tournament. You have to fly all of those people from, I think it was 11 different countries into the tournament, have them quarantine safely. So they would use the quarantine product for that. And then once they're in the bubble, they'd use the contact tracing product to make sure, anybody who's in contact with other people, they could quickly and efficiently, not rely on people's memory to contact trace who they were in touch with at the time. And that was really seamless. So in the contact tracing inside the bubble, it was just a little piece of electronic tag that went on the lanyard. And so, there's no recharging, there's none of these things. Those products are both at market. So in a cruise ship or an enterprise setting, you're going to be using the contact tracing. So you come aboard or you get to work, and you're using that device to see who you were in contact with and for how long. Should there be any need to look back at that data. There's no GPS in these devices. This is not a tracking device. This is not a massive privacy implication. The devices only work in the specified areas. So if it's in an enterprise, the device only works at the job site. Once you leave, and that's where it ends. And same with the cruise ship. You get on the cruise ship, it only works within the confines of the boat. And that's really important from limiting the scope of what we're dealing with. We only want to deal with the health and safety of the passengers or employees at the time and at the place that they're being used. We do not want to encroach on their private lives.
I like that. Privacy is a big issue. Obviously, we've seen that with Facebook, and the fact that you have thought about that, I think, is pretty genius, because I think a lot of people are thinking, well, what happens if I go here and I go there? I don't want people to know where I'm going or what I'm doing at all times. But yeah, if I'm at work, I throw this on, and everything is going to be kosher. If I'm on a cruise, I put this on, everything's going to be kosher. When I leave the cruise, I'm no longer being traced. So exactly. Yeah. I think it's actually really smart. What differentiates you from your competition?
I think we are, so if you look at the technical team, Dennis Kwan and Suresh Singhamsetti, these are guys that have worked in the wearables business for decades. They're pioneers in the industry. They know this stuff right down to the silicon. So, when it comes to writing firmware, or doing the embedded software that's in these devices, that is making it so the devices are extremely efficient, and using, frankly, like less battery life means that you have a smaller battery, which is a lighter product, which is something that you actually want to use. We've seen these products in the field where they're like a little brick, and you try to get all your employees to wear this thing that's like weighing them down. It's just not practical. So you have to have a lightweight, really easy to use, well-designed, well thought out product. So there's two things really. One is being so deep on the technology allows you to create a very highly differentiated product from the way that it feels and you interact with it as a wearable. So that's number one. Number two, the backstory of being involved in the medical business is really all about a bedrock of security and privacy, meaning that, in a hospital setting, security is super important, and mining those patient records and things like that is massively, it's really what the whole thing is about. And they've done that years ago, and now we're applying those same principles. The same principles that apply in a medical setting apply in, our regular product setting that we give to everybody. So everybody gets medical grade sort of access to that. that's really important and a big differentiator.
Tracesafe has done extremely well over the last few months. What can we expect from the company in the short and the midterm?
This is really day one for the company. We saw 2020 was really a firefighting year, trying to get the product out to as many people and just deliver to the highest need areas. And I think that there was sort of an adoption curve where people weren't sure. Okay, how long is this going to last? What are we going to do? How are we going to make these? What products are going to be a part of the next couple chapters? And it seems like wearables are here to stay. And so now that the psychology around, I don't want to have all this stuff on an app inside the Google, Facebook ecosystem necessarily. I don't want to have, some of these other more invasive solutions. Having a sort of ring-fenced wearable solution that works at the job or at these venues that you're visiting seems to be the best idea. And so that idea is really gaining traction. So we're talking about events. For live events where they're bringing people back into those environments. We're talking about massive enterprise deployments. We're talking about still continuing with major government operations. There's other governments in the world that want to be like Cayman and have, get to those zero cases. It's just, and we're speaking with governments all the time. We've had so much success in 2020 from a commercial perspective, from actually deploying and being successful in all these environments, from governments to international sporting events. I don't know that anyone has actually deployed at the scale that we have and had the success that we've had, and had their platform really stress tested the way we have. And when you're making a decision about which way to go, okay, do I go with this unproven solution, or do I go with the people that delivered at the World Juniors and for the Hong Kong government and for the Singapore government and for Cayman, and you start seeing the results? I think that Tracesafe becomes the natural selection.
That's great. Now, if there's one thing you want investors that are watching from all over the world, 113 people watching right now, to know about Tracesafe, what would it be?
I think what it is the story is really getting started. When they were first deploying the iPhone, right? Nobody understood the platform, story around it, that it would become a massive platform for apps, that there'd be all these new things that you could build on top of it. It was a cool device and it was there. Once they started getting critical mass and you started seeing the iPhone in more people's pockets, it just enabled every additional person that had an iPhone. It made it more useful for everybody. And we see the same thing happening with wearables. As we deploy more and more of these devices into workplaces, hospitality, everywhere, you start to have a platform that you can build incremental new services on. We have some of the most sophisticated chips in our newest wearables that are capturing motion data and giving actionable, and we see them as being platforms to give workers, hospitality companies, the ability to gain actionable insights on what's happening inside their walls. So, how is their employee engagement? Employee engagement is a massive industry just by itself. If you have people wearing wearables, you can understand a lot of interesting data around how they're doing at work, right? The stuff that you cannot understand from a survey. And a lot of that comes from sort of some of the machine learning algorithms we have. So we see this as unlocking a huge platform. The more devices are deployed in the world, the bigger platform we can get. We're getting very good and very fast at deploying these devices into enterprise and hospitality. You can imagine if everyone on a cruise ship is wearing these things, and you have data on passengers, the cruise ship companies can understand perhaps sentiment analytics around how well the passengers are enjoying the cruise and how well the team is doing at delivering an incredible experience. So that's the kind of feedback loops. The more wearables you get, the more products you can build on top of that wearables platform, the deeper the data, the deeper the insights, and the more sticky that product becomes, and the more important it becomes to the business operation of that company.
If there is investors, shareholders, joint venture partners, governments, companies that are watching this video and they want to get in contact with you, potentially do a joint venture, to do a business deal, to invest, what's the best way for them to reach you, Wayne?
Yeah, you can just send me an email. I'm Wayne at tracesafe.io. And our team, Gord Zielstra is our head of, he's our chief revenue officer, and he's doing a lot of the partnerships. We have a great partnership team that is just focused on partnerships. We have governments reaching out to us every day about these opportunities. We have cruise ships reaching out, national sports organizations. I mean, the list is really endless. We really do our best to deliver for every one of those verticals. Professional sports is frankly becoming a massive business for us, and we only see that continuing to grow. So they can reach out to me directly. They can get in contact with us on our webpage. There's a form they can just fill out, and a sales rep will get back to them immediately.
Thank you so much, Wayne Lloyd, the CEO of Tracesafe. Thank you for joining us today. If you guys like this video, please smash the like button, comment down below, share the video everywhere, and subscribe for future updates. Wayne Lloyd, the CEO, doing a great job, potentially changing the world and making the world a better, safer place for all of us, which is extremely important in I'm calling it now a COVID 2021 world now. COVID 2019 is so far back now. A lot of people keep thinking, oh, COVID's going to be gone in a year. I don't think so. Like it's here to stay, right? Like, unfortunately, I don't believe it's just going to disappear. So this is a product that we're going to need. This is not a want, in my opinion. This will be a need for years to come. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that I don't know about making predictions about how long or short COVID is going to be here for, but I know that the marketplace, the COVID situation has really woken people up to the power of wearables, versus apps. And that is a trend that's here to stay. We see wearables in the enterprise becoming just a massive multi-billion-dollar industry, because, unfortunately, the mega corp, Facebooks, Googles haven't done as good of a job as they could have when it comes to, helping people understand their privacy and what it is. And they've just, the trust has kind of eroded there. And in the wearables world, you can make products that fundamentally, there is a limit to the trust component that you need to do, because you can limit the functionality that they actually offer. In your cell phone, you have every radio, you have GPS, you're talking about 23, 24 radios on board a cell phone. That's a lot. And it's hard to know what every one of those things are doing at all times. I just think the average person goes, that's a lot of information and I just don't know where it's going. With a wearable, you know exactly what's happening. It's a purpose-driven device that just does one or two things really well and leaves the rest of it to other things, right? And so that's something where you're building trust by design. By the way the product is actually put together. We see that as being kind of a massive upload. Look, you saw what happened to Signal when Facebook started talking about how they're going to change the WhatsApp privacy. Those apps shoot up in popularity. The same thing's happening in wearables. We see that companies, hospitality, sports, government, everybody wants to know what the thing does, And so you're seeing that wearables story really ramp up now because of that.
Well, congratulations on all your success thus far. If you ever have any big breaking news, we'd love to invite you back on the show. And our entire community will be watching every step of the way. Wayne Lloyd, the CEO of Tracesafe. Thank you guys for watching. If you're not winning, you're not watching. We bring you the winners and we bring them to you first. I think this is a company that has huge upside. Let me know what you guys think. Comment on the video. Wayne, I'm not going to take any more of your time. I know you're a really busy man. Continue doing great work. And for everybody else, have a nice day. Thanks for watching.